Welcome everyone to the weekend Forex strategy call. My name is Steve Vetterl, coming to you live from the beautiful Auvoria Resort in Nashville, Tennessee. We're having our Auvoria Prime summit here among some of the executives and top team leaders going through. It's been actually a fantastic 4 days of product release. So I'm going to go through real quickly. This is just recording I did on Zoom. So we just read the risk disclosure real quick. Trading the foreign exchange markets carries high risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Trading on margin utilizing leverage can carry an even higher level of risk that can lead to a complete loss of investment funds. So before deciding to trade the foreign exchange markets, I always suggest that you set up a demo account. Run that account for at least a couple of weeks, if not a couple of months, depending on your level. I always suggest setting the demo account up with the size and the automatic settings that come out of the box from either Einstein or Alexander. Do keep in mind throughout this call, I'm going to be talking just a little bit about, we have some events coming up this week. Want to touch upon that, touch upon some of what's going on, obviously, in the Forex Red Folder calendar. We have a pretty big FOMC week as well. So going to make this just a quick and short call. Second part of the risk disclosures. If you are sharing any results from Alexander, Iris, Einstein, any of the newer pieces of software that we come out, which are only allowed in the designated Facebook groups, please do not use the term company recommended settings. Okay, you can use the term, we're using the settings that I recommend, which is fine, but Auvoria doesn't have any recommended settings. So we're not a financial advisory firm. We just license software that users can use however they want and at their own risk disclosure. So the software comes out of the box with default settings upon initial setup, which users have the ability to customize at their own discretion. So, AP has nothing to do with a customer's brokerage account. We don't solicit or take investments. We don't recommend any brokers. We're just licensing software, and we sell the education, which is essentially myself, all the other risk coaches, Adeze Duncan's back office. So my settings are not company recommended. This is pretty key to keep in mind. I know that our compliance team has been perusing some of the different chats and social medias and stuff, and we still see occasionally where the company recommended settings things comes out of. So if you can do your best to avoid that. Let's jump into the Forex calendar now. Okay, so next week, we have a really important day, at least as far as those trading any type of US dollar ring-based currency or equity markets for that matter. We have the FOMC statement and the FOMC press conference that comes out. And keep in mind at this particular, always make sure to double check what these times are relative to your time frame. Now, in this case, I actually have these times set to Pacific time from, even though I'm broadcasting in Central time zone today, but do keep in mind on that. So I think that, the developers are running this week. So, but related to, GDP coming out in Germany and anything related to the FOMC statement from the Fed coming up, it could be a bit treacherous. You may want to, with those running Alexander, you may want to, just make sure things aren't going crazy in the currency markets before you just start blindly accepting trades that are coming across from Alexander onto whatever your device is. Just keep an idea on that. Let me switch over to the conservative account. So I'm not going to be showing the small live account that we have running the same ring that essentially our large account here, which is denominated in euros, but this is a MyFX book for the account. We're in a process of getting our trading privileges re-verified on the other account. But for those following along on this, this is actually now updated and active. Account took a little bit of a drawdown last week. It's currently off about 163 euros in actual drawdown, which is all just related to one trade that we've been holding in this account for almost 2 weeks. So this, you can see the software has been unwilling to give up on this particular sequence in the trade. So it's still on with some drawdown, but it took a couple of stop losses last week. Nothing major, but count essentially is has an absolute gain of 9%, which we've gotten a couple of questions on. So this is really just a time-weighted return. You can always hover over stuff in MyFX Book and see that, so forth. But I lost a little bit. It's all part of Forex. Welcome to trading in the Forex markets. But the important thing to keep in mind here is that, especially with the Auvoria Prime 2.0 that we've been going over this week, and it's a sort of a refocus and a couple of additional pieces of direction that the company is taking this weekend, which is really, really good stuff. And we're exceptionally excited about the new additional path of direction, I should say, in addition to 4 new softwares that are coming out, which are going to have different strategies than the martingale strategy that is the primary strategy that we have for, obviously, for Alexander and Einstein. So stay tuned on that. There's going to be a lot more detail coming in the product release. I will let corporate handle that. And then once corporate is finished releasing it and getting everything all set up and straightened out as far as the back office, as far as adding new software, I will be coming in and doing a review on different parts of it. But I'm probably going to stay real big picture on it, and or not even touch on some of the softwares. The particular developers and or the team running that new release of software will actually be doing weekly update calls for that software. So in addition to my call, Saturday and Tuesday, and Jesse's call, obviously, and his postings, I will be, having a couple of different pieces of software to look over, which is exciting. It adds a little bit of work. That's okay. It's all good stuff in the end. But all right, so I wanted to talk just a little bit about the equity markets. I know I've got a lot of emails on people just wanting reviews on what's going on. So just taking a look at TradingView here. And one thing I had said last week is that if we broke above this line in the S&P and had spent any significant amount of time outside of it, this is a daily chart and a candle chart of the S&P 500, that there's a chance that we could be extending further to the upside. But for those that follow me on Twitter, which is the next screen, let me make sure I'm sharing that. So this is my Twitter account. It's at fxestrader.com. I post a lot of stuff here related mostly to the futures and equities markets, a little bit of Forex. But as you can see, I'm trying actually to bring Tommy on one of the Saturday calls. He has a big following. Guy's an ex hedge fund trader, ran the big desk for Millennium some time ago. He is an expert on DeMark, and I'm not going to get too involved in that, but DeMark is a very expensive indicator that you can only get on CQG or the Bloomberg platform that essentially runs some of the most accurate sort of counts. It's almost like a wave count on the different movements of inside a chart. And we were showing, as I shared and retweeted last week, that a lot of the DeMark counts essentially were counting up to what's called a 13. So sometimes you'll hear me talk about a DeMark 13 countdown, which is nothing more than just one of the more accurate longer term directional change indicators out there. So that's really all I'm going to say on this point. I would certainly encourage you to Google Tom DeMark if you wish, but I hesitate to push anybody towards any of Tom DeMark's YouTube channels. He's a very wealthy individual, sells a very expensive indicator to a lot of institutional traders out there for swing trading based direction. But watching or reading a lot of Tom DeMark's books is just super complex, and he loses tons of people in his webinars because it's just difficult to understand. So heck, I don't even do a deep dive. I just let Tommy tell me when he's thinking there's some reversals coming. So essentially we got that reversal And sure enough, S&P now back inside that ranging channel that I've been talking about for heck since the beginning of June, right? So we're still stuck back inside that channel. So I'm getting now no indications, because who knows, maybe we'll go back down and test the bottom of the index. Maybe we'll just bounce around towards the top of the range right here. Tough to tell at this point. Really need some direction out of the Fed this week in order to be able to feel comfortable about what our next piece of direction is. But, I'm always trying to look at the U.S. equity markets and U.S. credit markets for maybe some clues as to where the dollar is going to go, obviously, so that we can have a more broader discussion of what we think is going to happen in Forex land. So let's just take a look at the euro-U.S. dollar. So from this level here, as maybe you guys saw me draw, this is TradingView, new software I've started to use, really like the stuff. This is the range that we broke out above. And since then, we've just been in liftoff to probably what's going to be the next level. Let me just switch down to a 1 week chart. And you can now see that this is probably going to be our next level. That it's maybe that's not the best line. Let's drop it down a little bit here. Right there. That's a little more accurate. Somewhere in this range, shooting to the next level. Can't say it's going to go there, but nothing is really standing in the way of that 118-ish, high 117 level as far as a potential magnet for this, which obviously, conversely, looking at the euro-US dollar, you can see how much the dollar is tanked. I mean, hell, the dollar index is darn near back to levels we saw in July of 2018. So again, we're just looking at a weekly chart, looking for longer term direction on where we feel the dollar is going to go as far as just the DXY index. But the great thing about this is that, at least for foreign investors, it's becoming more affordable to buy U.S. goods. So go ahead and buy all the stuff you're looking at from the U.S. because the denomination of it is getting cheaper. But and I think a lot of this is also due to the fact the Federal Reserve has been, along with the U.S., as you can see some of the headlines below, they're moving pretty quickly on potentially another relief bill. So that's obviously giving a whiff to the currency markets that the dollar is devaluing, thus lifting all other currencies related to it, at least in terms of the majors. So let's take a look at the GBP real quick. Again, same thing. Dollar's weakening, so it's strengthening. I don't really have any direction in here. I mean, you can certainly see the top of the range is essentially somewhere in this area. It's possible that we could be shooting for that. Technically, I don't pay as much attention to GBP. Let's also take a look at the US dollar JPY. Again, with the fact that